तो आपको कुछ याद आया देखकर 27 डाउन?
यही याद आया कि पहले दाढ़ी काली थी अब आपके सामने
और न्यू दिल्ली टाइम्स हमने हर डेकेड में एक चूज किया।
ये तो कमाल किया आपने।
हाँ,
कहाँ से लाए हमें भी नहीं पता कहाँ से।
और जो सबसे लेटेस्ट तनाव,
हाँ वो
मतलब
कहाँ से, ये तो खैर अभी का है।
हाँ, तो इतनी लंबी या इतना लंबा सफर रहा, एंड you've written about it in Before I Forget, and yet when I read it I felt that so much more that you have to tell us. So talk about what is not written in Before I Forget.
What is not written?
What is not written? There's so much more that you have to write, right?
See, if you started your life like a tramp, if you have almost mapped India on foot. When I left National School of Drama, I had decided that I'm not going to take up a job which normally every young man will take. And it's a little story about it, is that I went to Paharganj. There were hippies there, and they were selling their things. And I bought a rucksack, and I bought sleeping bag. I think 250 rupees or something. That is still with me.
It's still with you?
Just as a relic now.
1968.
No, I don't use it now, but I don't want to part away from it. Because that is what I did for 25, 30 years. I realized after doing National School of Drama and doing the university and other things, I still don't know India. So believe me, I had to unlearn to learn. And that education was there in the, backwaters of India or in the smaller places, tribal areas. And somehow it happened. The richness of India, which they were talking just now, is in the big-hearted, poorest of the poor people will welcome you, feed you, and teach you. What I was looking for cultural tapestry of India. While I started looking at, you say plays, dances, music, I was also looking at the textiles, I was also looking at the floral drawings, I was looking at the paintings. Then you realize there is not one school of culture in this country. For me, I'm not a scholar, there are million schools of culture in this country. Every state has its own National School of Drama, which is traditionally, it has its pedagogy, it has its music, it has its own instruments. Which instrument will play with what kind of a music composition. And that, who composed it all? Was there some God? Was there some spirituality? It was the ordinary people of this country whom we call gurus, we call them rishis, we call them teachers, masters, whatever you call them. And that still is on. I think you need 10 lives to understand this land called India. Just through textiles, just through musical instruments, you're amazed when you see a Western man coming looking at the drums of India. You just can't. Africans, I've interacted with African musicians. They look at the Indian drums, they look at the Indian textiles. I collect a lot of gamchas for myself. And each gamcha differs from the other.
Yeah.
Even I went to Bangladesh, there are 14 of them. Because they realized he loves them, and each one brought from his own village one. So, that richness is fascinating, and it has enriched me as a human being. Therefore, whenever I go to the people, I go to learn. I have very little to teach or to explain. I may do something, but I learn more from these people.
So how did
so that this book was, you come into the book. I'm not an author. I write scripts. I write film scripts. I write articles in academic work, in theater, film. But I realized the post-India, its upheavals, its riots, its killing to each other, that sort of slaps on me while I was doing the other journey. And how it was shaping me, and I was making my principles. and making my decisions, or what is right, what is wrong. And that helped me. And people, friends whom I used to talk about it, I used to talk about this happened there, and this, they'll say, why don't you write about it? Another person tell something right about it. But then I was so much busy with my own theatre work, film work, all kinds of work I do. I got fellowship at Stanford, and I had to give 8-10 lectures, and I had a cool time there. This is a very rich university. Your lunch is free, your hotel is great. Then I said, what am I going to do here? And there was this professor scholar there, Jisha Menon, Indian. I talked her some stories one day. She says, MK, you're wasting time, you should write. And first 20 pages I wrote in Stanford only. Then I came back, again forgot about it. I lost those 20 pages also. But then COVID happened, and my entire activity came to a complete standstill. I could not do anything. And I remember one day I was so suffocated at home, I took my little car out and took my domestic servants, 2 little children who were tiny, they were just imprisoned, they were not allowed to go. Put them in the car, I put some Coca-Cola for them and drove for 2 hours in Noida, Greater Noida, almost 100 miles. Came back, I said, I think I need to write, and next morning at 9 o'clock, I still remember it, I took my bath and started writing. And I write with my hand, I don't use computers like you guys do. And because I write fast, I think it will not help me if I never go to computer. And it took me a year almost to write the first draft. And then I was correcting it, doing things. And I left it at that point. And then a friend of mine told me, I said, look, this has happened now. He said, you should get it printed. I said, I don't know, where do I get it printed? She gave me a number of an agent. And she phoned him also. He has a book. He got the book, he read it in 7 days. He says, I'm on this book. It has to be published, and I'll get you soon a publisher. And after 3 weeks, he said, we have got a publisher, Penguin, they're publishing it. And then started the whole thing.
And it still doesn't have your entire life. There's still so much.
It is not. As I look at it, it is only the post-Indian upheavals, I'll call, which I had to experience, unfortunately, and which have been very, very turning points in my beliefs. On one side, I see myself as a very spiritual person. I see at the same time that I am agnostic. That kind of a dilemma is there. I lost, and when I was born, Kashmir was divided. In 1990, I was there when the whole thing happened. We got again divided. And my clan, we were thrown like, garbage out. And pardon my saying, you my fellow Indians, India did not bother about those people. Even now, those 5 lakh people who are still loitering everywhere. I've been eyewitness to 1984 rights from the word go. And I've written one line there, I feel I'm cursed to be there at the spot where something will happen. And I have to react, and I have to do my kind of work, what I believe in. I've seen 84 riots. There's a chapter on that, which I don't think anybody has seen, because I left all my work for 4 months, and we established a little organization, and we just were doing seva. What is seva? In Sikh Dharma or in other places you serve. And people were telling me, MK, you should do a play. I said, no. There are times in life, plays don't play. They don't heal. My work heals me more. Because for me, healing, it has been many times. Sikh riots was one big thing. Kashmir was completely upside down, because I was in a hospital with my mother in a brain hemorrhage, and it was run by terrorists. I know at that time I didn't think they were with the guns there, controlling the entire hospital. It was their mercy. Doctors disappeared, nurses disappeared, and I lost my mother. And the funeral that I had to take place had to happen on 26 January, Friday, 1990. And Kashmir was shoot at sight order. It was nobody could come in. How I negotiated. And these are big wounds. I'm sure every Indian has these wounds, whoever suffers. It takes decades to heal them. And the best way to heal is to get in the process of service to the people. Whether you use culture, whatever you do.
And that is what is so remarkable about you. There are so many Kashmiri Pandits, I know, I'm one myself, who have lost and have become very bitter. They've lost their homes, they've lost everything. You have managed to turn it into working for the Kashmir that is left. And I think that is the most remarkable and it's a very honorable thing.
I think every Indian person should ask, what is a citizen's duty, not only rights? I wasn't looking at my rights that time. I was like my duty. And I think if I could do something to turn and reclaim cultural space in this country, this has been a major project with me and with my group of friends. We see cultural space being encroached by powerful people, by state,
corporate,
politicians, and their concept of Indian culture is way, way away from what civilizational culture is all about. They don't have no clue about it. And they do think they are serving, but they are not serving it. And I could make a difference, little bit. I had few ideas. I remember in 2000 when again Kashmir was in bad shape. At 3 in the afternoon or 4 in the afternoon, everybody used to be inside. Nobody used to be on the roads. And I entered that space. It was entering the fire really. And I thought that if I can create a little change, a little reclaiming of the cultural space, because from 1990 to 2000, there was no performance in Kashmir, no singing, no dancing. The musicians were told it is un-Islamic, it is kufr if you perform. Marriage, no dances, no singing. Tagore Hall was locked for 10 years, and I remember when we removed the dust from the seats when we went in 2000. But it is a challenge today, believe me. You may see a lot of celebrations everywhere. The genuine cultural space which asks questions, which contests the idea, and I should have that duty and the right to do that. Nobody should harass me. Nobody should tell me the police is coming to your house or this will happen to you. That don't. MK, close your mouth. We are talking too much. You should not talk. But I think the citizens must know that duty, if not the right, for us is to speak culturally truth by reclaiming our cultural spaces.
I think that calls for some applause because it is very, very difficult in the rest of India, but even more difficult in Kashmir. You have to negotiate security agencies, you have to negotiate the terrorists, you have to negotiate with your own fears, right?
Yeah, I mean, when we thought we were successful in Kashmir doing this, we started doing these plays where nobody in the media knows. 10,000 people watching a play in the countryside, 15,000 watching. And one day, one crazy chap came and he started shouting, Nara Takbir, Allahu Akbar, everybody turned the whole public against us. There will be no play. If you play within 40 minutes, there will be dead bodies here. Straightway, open challenge public. But that was a discovery for me also. And we packed. I said, I need violence. We should not have violence. And my assistant director told me, MK, somebody told me he has got a revolver. I said, my God, no. Let us pick up things quietly. We'll come some other time. When he picked up young boys and girls in Kashmir, which you think because there's a stereotype, I want to give you some message. They said, you are not going. I said, no, we'll come some other time. No problem. They said, no, we won't tell you to go. You want us to, we'll kill him. They had a skill in their hand. They said, we'll cut his stomach. You just tell us. I said, I got more frightened. I said, it's going to be a riot now. And I told them, nothing doing, we are not going, we are going. They brought a bulldozer and put it on the village street. So our little vehicle in which we had come will not move. And it was chaos for 1 hour or so. My throat went off, we couldn't speak. I was trying to explain. But one elderly man, around about 80 years old, with his tasbih in his hand, he patted me from behind. He said, come here. I said, yes. He said, look, son, in Kashmiri he said to me, we'll give our life for you. You must perform. Nothing will happen. If we don't perform today, we are defeated. When he said that, I don't know, I'm a little bit of a Sufi kind of a training I have got. I said, what do you mean? He said, they don't want us to laugh or even enjoy anything. You are our son, you do it. I sort of felt there is a message for me. And I can't let down this whole 10,000 crowd. And people were still coming because nothing happens in the villages there nowadays. So people are still coming, women, children. It was like a mela. And I had chosen this site because there was a beautiful chinar tree. I thought under this tree we will perform. It was a beautiful location near Kukarnag, if you have been there. And with the moment we said, okay, we will do, people just celebrated and we made the space. And the irony was, when play was happening, by the end of it, a lot of people were coming. So people will move forward a bit. Our space of performance started becoming closer and closer. By the end of it, believe me, there was 6 feet left for us. There's no space for us. And when the play ended, and the man had to die there, the king had to die. And that opened a lot of, again, more ventilators for me. We can reclaim. And we decided we'll go from village to village because they yelled at us that day. You came without our invitation. We did not know. We have to treat you. We don't call people here like that. We had to have a feast for you ready. So that happened. A lot of villages came to know around that area. And every day we started performing. For 7, 8, 10 days we performed one after another. And yes, one thing I must tell you, I kept a low profile. I did not want to become a hero. M.K. Raina has come from Delhi. Oh, he's a great culture person. Because if I had done that, I would have been shot dead. So I had to be like a common, invisible person who is doing this work, not meeting government people, not meeting police people, no security around any one of us. That's success. Because that's very important when you want to change. Change does not come with the drums and newspapers. It comes organic when you hand over this change to the people. We handed over to them and they did it. So that is, all this is in the book, that it had to be told. That's why I gave the title, Before I Forget. Because, you get old, you forget these things. But that's why I wanted to recollect and record them here.
You talked about change. Has Kashmir changed? There's so much talk about Naya Kashmir.
2 things I would say. I have a metaphor for Kashmir. I still hold it. I don't know what will happen to this election now. It's like, milkman who sells milk, hot milk. Kadai, he boils it. And it's a pure milk he's boiling. Kashmir is still the pure milk, believe me, but there's a lot of, instead of cream, there's a lot of dust and filth on the top. And who will come? And we call it a Badshah has to come. Badshah was a great king. And who will mop it clean? That is where the cultural renaissance is needed to do it. To make people question, answer, debate, leave them space to talk. Don't lock them. They should not lock their children in their homes. Andar baitho mar jayega. Instead of pelting stones, they should be talking through cultural action. There are a billion ways of doing it. All over the world it has been done. That is not happening. And I see it has been changing. First was anger. Terrible anger. I got caught in the pelting stones. We were pelted also. And our jeep was, actually, million rocks came on us. God only saved us that day. I think that was the anger. After 370, they hold their breath. In fact, they tell me, "Aap jo hoga hone do." We don't want our children to die now. It is useless to do it. What is the big deal? But they are not happy. That I can tell you. They are not happy.
There's a sullenness.
No, there is a sense of little, why did you do this to us?
Yeah.
That is there. That's very much there. Everyone will tell you. I mean, also I must tell you, we have no idea there are huge population blocks of pro-India. Kashmir is not completely anti-India. It's all a lie for some lie. I live in the villages. I know exactly this village is pro-democracy, pro-this. And there are nuts. All over they are there. But those have been silenced. They can't defend themselves or argue for their country. That is there. There's no support system for them. We need support system for them. Them that open your mouth. You are the people. You are the people. It's your land. You talk about it. So they are weak.
Yeah.
They are weak.
They're trapped.
They don't trust me even if I tell them this.
Yeah, and they're trapped.
They're trapped. They're trapped.
But the other thing that I admire so much about you is that you've not let your personal bitterness or personal loss, I would call it personal loss of home, loss of your parents.
I lost
the worst thing.
I mean, a huge loss to me personally. But you see,
you've not let
if I will tell you, when you share your pain with other people and people listen to you, you feel a little bit okay. And this happened to me in Kashmir. The first thing is, what happened to you? Oh, not really. Day-to-day discussion will happen like that. But believe me, don't mind, please, with folded hands, I'm telling you, we led Kashmiris down.
All Kashmiris?
Yeah, entire Kashmir. And in our impatience, we think, I have my friends, I've interacted with the Jawans, and there is a portion in this book about I am hearing the PCO calls of soldiers to their families. And that is another story, how they feel about their duty here, what is happening. And it became a habit for me. Early in the morning, PCO was on, I didn't have mobile that time. I used to go and listen to what is he talking. That's sad stories were they. You come to realize their stories where they are on duty here. And
they're from Haryana, Andhra. I mean, they have
Northeast,
no connection.
Haryana, Hyderabad.
They don't understand
In fact,
the language.
I tell you one story, which I think I have written it. I was in Jammu airport one day. Their practice was your handbag used to be put into the X-ray machine and it will come out and you go to the other side, pick it up and go. My bag was not coming and I stopped there. Suddenly I saw one box, long box. And on it was written, "Last night, George." Believe me, I had cold feet. I was in tears. There was a little young lady with a little baby in her, that was her husband, in the coffin.
God.
And I wanted to get hold of this manager. And I started screaming, "Where is this manager?" So somebody said, "Rana Saab, please," they recognized me, "Please." I said, "This is my soldier. He is not some
piece of
bag or box. For God's sake, we have to respect him." And there was this major who was going with his body. He also said, "Rana Saab, things are bad." But the fact is, because of the crisis after crisis, we have become so insensitive even to listen
to what is happening around. I don't think anybody has any idea about India, and we don't know India. We know our state maybe. We are not interested in another state, which will, you can say politically, geographically, this wise, religious-wise, but as sharing your pain with my pain, his pain with my pain, I think that is still a big task for us.
Raina Sahab, you work very closely with the children of Kashmir. Do you see any hope with them?
Great hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a children's story. I would like to relate it. While I was working with my cultural space, my daughter, she was undergraduate course. She said, I want to do a thesis here. I said, what? Till then you phone home people. Everything's fine, don't worry, I'm safe. Every day 2 phones, one in the morning, one in the evening. Suddenly this little girl is telling me I'm coming. Why? You said that everything's all right, I have to do this. I give me schools which are very poor schools. I talked to some friends, I got a crisis now. This little girl, she will not listen to me. And they told me, don't worry. Driver, taxi driver of mine, Habib. तुमको क्या है? वो अपनी बिटिया हमारे साथ है, तुम अपना काम करो. And that exactly happened. Anyway, she came, she did her thesis. She used to come every day in the evening, very upset. She was meeting the school. And in the evening, she used to fight with me. You say everything is all right. I try to argue. No, it is complicated. But it will. So, this, look at this, look at this. They can't speak. Their self-esteem is not there. She had worked out all these psychology, she was doing psychology major, etc. And then I started looking at her papers. Then I said, look, my dear M.K. Raina, there's a big project for you here. I have to intervene into the children. There's an orphanage there run by friends of mine called Health Foundation. I asked them, I'm going to try to do it. And other people. So this, okay, we'll get you children. They were the children, first batch was children without fathers. They had seen their father being shot dead, 90% of them. I said, okay, I'll work with them. It's not a theater work. It's a different psychological game. You put a different pedagogy for this. Suddenly came to my mind, I said, no, I'll get Pandit orphan children also. Muslim friends, are you mad? What poison has gone on both sides? They will fight. I said, no, it doesn't happen like that. Children, I have some experience. But believe me, as we were moving in this area of arranging things for them, I started developing cold feet. You see, I can be a hero, but I can fail. So I have to be careful about it. So they said, are you sure? Look, we are again telling you something bad will happen. It will come in the press. Everything will be bad. I said, no, okay. Suddenly I just said, can I get some mothers, widows of these children? They said, now what does that mean? I said, they will be an interface between me and the children if we fail. I bet you. 10 women came. And it was on donation. Somebody gave me a dharamshala, somebody gave me food, somebody, 4 days I'll give food. 15 days they were with me. And nothing about terrorism that these children talked. It took a lot of time to break that silence. They never used to look straight at you because they had seen horror in their homes. No father at home and personal problems and the terrorism at its full thrust. And one girl, Noor, used to faint thrice a day and cry. God. Another girl will cry. This will cry. But one day we were every day taking class, what should we do? We are failing, or we are not making much sense. One day I saw one girl crossing the circle and holding the hand of a Pandit girl. Wow. And they smiled. I looked at it, nobody realized it or observed it. I said, key has turned. I said to my assistant, key has turned. And gradually over 12 days, they wrote poetry, they directed plays, literally threw me out of the class. Sir, you don't come here. You have to go. You have to go. I said, why should I go? And then you disturb, you start taking your thing. Let us do our thing. The idea of ours was that they will take their decisions themselves. They will be the leaders of this whole game. Then I gave them an exercise. I give a big scroll of paper to them. Make your ideal school.
Wow.
What a school. What an imagination. And what poetry they wrote. And recently, I was in Srinagar and somebody said, sir, and there was this young lady. He said, I am Noor.
Oh.
I said, Noor? She doesn't look that Noor. Sir, I am Noor. I am a manager in that hotel.
Wow.
I hugged her. You know, we could make a difference. Another girl wrote a 90-page novel after this. What I'm trying to say, we all have talent to do it. All we need to make a one step ahead to our pay, maybe to our servant, to our neighbor. We need to share this knowledge with. And I have been very fortunate. I don't have wealth, but I have wealth of friends in their disciplines who come to realize my madness and chip in. And that is where I succeeded. More Kashmiris, they are still working there. Now, I don't do theatre there. The boys, I train 500 of them. They are in the countryside with their groups. They did recently 2 national theatre festivals.
Wow.
So that was something for me.
Can the Pandits ever go back? Is Kashmir ready for us?
If Badshah takes over, Badshah is Bada Badshah. There's a history of this Bada Badshah. When first exodus has taken place in 13th century, he brought Kashmiri Pandits back. And I'm offspring of that. But when will that Badshah come? And when will Sri Bhatt come, who was his advisor, who was from Pandit, and he was a royal physician also. If that pair comes, possible. Otherwise, never. Otherwise, never.
It will never happen.
No, I don't know. Indian state is not yet that sensitive. How it is complex. It's not that easy either. It's very complex. Now becoming more complex.
Yeah. Why is that?
Huh?
Why has it become more complex?
Don't hate your own citizens, even if they are bad, if they are demanding the impossible. Don't divide them. Be in love with them, despite your limitations, despite their limitations. That.
Just the last question. I mean, you've always been where there's trouble. You've always been where there's trouble. And trouble of huge proportions. Safdar Hashmi dies, riots happen. Kashmir, you lose Kashmir. You stay with Latram's brother. I mean, what all have you done? How do you, and I mean, the day when you had to take your mother for her cremation, you nearly got shot by your own security forces.
Army had taken over. There was this, on my street, I went out and to go to cop to tell her, please, I will take my mother for cremation. And I saw machine guns straight pointed out our street, like a Hollywood film. The belt goes down. And the moment I realized, I put my hands up, because that is the best way to keep before he shoots you. He knows that you don't have a pistol or anything to shoot him back. And the moment I said, he used माँ की गाली, बहन की गाली, इसकी गाली, उसकी गाली, तो साले आया कैसे, गोली खाने आया है क्या? I kept on moving towards him. But I think I don't know where it comes. Because of my principles, my father told me, don't get tense. If cremation doesn't happen today, let us wait for tomorrow. Let us see how it unfolds. Inside me, I didn't sleep. All night I was waiting for the morning to come, and morning came, I zipped my jacket and I came out. All I thought as a citizen, my mother has to have her funeral on time. That I will not compromise. I didn't tell anybody that.
In her homeland.
Huh?
In her homeland, in the
in my own
state
home,
where
in
she
my
was
state
born.
home where she was there. And it was tough, it was difficult. Streets were sealed. Every 200 meters there was a barbed wire. You had to stop your car, interrogate you. All of us used to come down at every 200 feet, show us the body. I had to open the shroud. They will see the father soldiers. Poor chaps were on duty. What can they do? And they will bow like this. And I've written that either it is because of the fear or we're not smuggling somebody else. And it suffocated me quite some time. What the hell is happening? But finally, we reached cremation ground. My cousin told me, suppose there is not a cremation, what will we do? I said, we will cremate ourselves. I went inside. From the behind the chinar, I still remember that shot like of him. Bearded man, like a darwish, does this, come here. This was my cremation man. He is a Muslim. In Kashmir, Hindu bodies are cremated by this is a tradition. And when I picked up the ashes, believe me, he instructed me, because there was nobody, take this first, put milk here, put flour here. Believe me, we were picking up the ashes and I was only looking at him. Is he my Pandit? He is a Muslim. How did he know? Then I said to myself, this is my tradition, this is my culture. I know Eid ul-Milad al-Nabi, I know every ziyarat here, I know every dargah, he knows mine. If this goes away, nothing is going to remain there. And the next thing, when we went to immerse the ashes, you take a boat, people were coming out from the mosque and he said, come, they saw the earthen pot. He said, come, they said, हाँ, हमें पता तुम्हें क्या करना है. हाँ, ये सवाब का काम है. सवाब means पुण्य का काम है. And they screamed, this boatman who was a tiny little boat, he was fishing. That boat came, we took the boat, he said, इनको ले जाओ. We went, immersed our ashes. We had no Pandit with us. All I knew was a Gayatri mantra, I immersed the ashes. And I came back, my cousin is shouting, when he gave him the money, it is very important. So I took some 500 notes. And this man, a poor man, really poor, who has come out in curfew time to have few fish for his own house, he said to me, इस काम के पैसे नहीं लेते. And again, a Muslim. I again insist him, please, भाई मेरा कहता है, कहता है जब हमने ही खुद ही, हम भी इस पुण्य में तुम्हारे साथ जा रहे हैं, तो तुम कौन हो? He says, तू कौन है? And that's what I understand. That is again another darwish giving me. And that comes to Kashmiris is because there is a Rishiism we are called. We don't call it Sufism. We call it Rishut. हमारे सूफियों को हम ऋषि बोलते हैं. Nund Rishi, Muhammad Rishi, Ye Rishi. They used to be Rishis, and that this order is a huge order. Every village you will see mosque, temple, and Asthan. Asthan is the Sufi dargah, where it is for Hindus and Muslims, both go there. They go for all kinds of things. They have lectures there. They have a shop there. They can do anything. I call it that is the secular space. Thank you.